Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next next installment of working on the NecroMansion. If you were with us yesterday, we did a bit of a kind of, what do you call it, a recap of where we were. Now it's actually time to do some real work on this one. So, what are we going to do? We are going to let's see. Let's do a sample turn. Yeah, all right. So, sample turn. Start living character. Goes inside. Goes in mansion. If you, well, actually, let me give you a bit of a heads up on how this game works. Basically, when you go into there's a mansion. It's run by the necromancer. There are undead guys running around. There are living guys running around. And if you can get killed as a living character, if you get killed, you will be split into a spirit and a skeleton. You can move that spirit and skeleton around doing various things, and we'll worry about what those actions are later. You can go back to a living character if you want. You can go back to a dead character if you want. So you can, it's kind of my answer to player elimination. So that's where we're at. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through a sample turn, and we are going to kind of see, we're going to build a flow to this game. That's kind of the goal for today. All right. So living character goes into the mansion. Living character, and this is, I'm talking really, let's call this really general terms. All right. So living character goes into a mansion. They are looking for items. Why? To fight the undead creatures and the necromancer. The question is, here's a setup question. Setup question. How many undead things are in there? In the mansion already. And what was the other thing? How many undead things are in the mansion already? And what supplies do they go in with? Okay, so let's do a little bit of mapping out here. No, you don't want to get smaller, please. Okay. Let's do this. We'll have a 5x5 room. Room. The idea of what I'm doing right now is I'm just giving myself a visual as to what moving around the board is going to look like. Now, if I was doing this my old way, I would have a whiteboard, which is right behind this computer, and I would be using that as my method to, what's that thing called? To kind of draw out what I think the floor would look like. And I would even just do, I would only do a single floor's worth of mapping out, but in this case, I'm just going to do all of it. So let's just say front door. Front door. First floor. Second floor. Third floor. All right. So there's going to be a deck of cards. There's a deck. Okay. And we're just going to assume that there's doors on all these rooms. I don't need to get too crazy with it. Stairs. We'll just mark that with an S. because we're lazy right now. Okay. So a living character is going to go in. it is unreasonable to have undead critters there waiting for you. So let's just say the undead are going to start up here. Okay. So the undead will start on the 3rd floor, and they'll have to work their way down. What will happen is, okay, so logically, everybody knows why the heroes are going into the mansion. Why would the undead not know that the humans were coming in? I guess they wouldn't. Well, would they? I mean, they would be alerted at their presence by the fact that the door is opened, and they would be on the initiative track at that point in time, and they're going to be soul gates. So, okay, all right. All right, so here is, let's do setup. Undead will start on the top floor. Oh, note. Where is the central, where's like the central room? Basically, so the idea is there's going to be a place on the board that's kind of like that's like the necromancer's dining room, or like, I don't know what, like the grand room, the necromancer grand room. I don't. That's where I want kind of like the fun, like the rituals that summon the necromancer need to be performed there. That's kind of what I have in my head. So that's just a note. All right. So the undead will start on the top floor. As they are part of the initiative track, they will have a turn and will get to move as part of initiative. Okay. Setup. Okay. So you walk in the door as a living character, and what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to want to go look around for stuff. You're going to want to spot where the undead characters are coming from. So actually, we're going to need multiple sets of stairs, because I don't want to create choke points. And then let's say there are hidden stairs. Nope, that's not what I want. This is what I want. Let's say hidden stairs in different rooms. Actually, and this is going to create some sort of this will create board variability. Variability. All right, so this is going to create some board variability, so that's good. There also needs to be decks of cards for items in each room. How many? How many cards? I don't know. We don't know. Let's just... There are 12... Did I just do 9 rooms? I did do 9 rooms. You know, we're going to stick with 9 rooms. I know I said 12 yesterday, but we're going to stick with 9. Okay, that'll actually cut down on the number of cards. So let's say 10 cards per room. That's going to be 90 cards. That's going to be 90 cards. If we bump that up to 100 to make it a round number, well, let's call it 108. Yeah, let's call it 108 cards. We're calling it 108 because most printers do sheets in 54, or at least the printer we're going with for Mars 445, they do them in 54. So we're going to do 108 cards. If that needs to change, that's fine. I think the baseline of what we want is 90, so we've got room to work with. Okay. Let's say each deck has 2 doesn't sound like enough. If I go into a room, if we say 3, that seems more reasonable. If we say 4, then we're saying that our theory of 10 cards per room is basically half at the start of the game. All right, so we're going to say rooms start with 3 cards each. Question becomes, how are cards added? It's like a really good question. How are cards added? What makes sense? If I'm running around a room looking for stuff, it's got to get generated somehow. It can't come from the outside world, so it's got to generate from the inside. Huh. Do all the cards need to be on the board? Do all the cards need to be on the board? No. I don't like that. They don't all need to be on the board. But how do they get added? I don't know. You know what? We're going to leave this one for... This is important. But need a good logical reason to add cards, items, to the different rooms. I mean, you could say that... so you go into a room and you start looking around. There's going to be some obvious stuff. Let's say that you have to look a little deeper, and then you'll find something hidden. Why would it be hidden? Does it matter why it would be hidden is another question. No, not necessarily. But if you go... I'm visualizing Baldur's Gate, which I used to play a lot on the good old Xbox. The original, not Xbox One, which everybody calls the Xbox now. So I guess we're just going to call it... I guess we're just going to call it... All right, so for now what we're going to say is that the rooms start with their base items. And players will need to search. Oh, actually, okay, so players will need to search in order to add cards to a room. Thematically, this is spending time looking for items hidden in closets and under beds, etc. Sure, we'll go with that. Let's say this. Undead characters. Here's the thing. Do I want to give them the ability to actually search and identify on the same turn? Or is it more like, oh, I'm reaching deep into a closet, I feel like I felt a sword or a weapon, I don't yet know what it is, I get to identify it next turn? I feel like it's adding time to the game. But I like the idea of actually having to, like, search. Let's not add difficulty yet. So let's say the same time characters search, they get to add items. Is it going to be a problem that basically at some point in the game all the cards are going to be on the board? Then you could say, well, why don't you just remove some of the cards from the game? Well, the problem there is you will eventually, like, the game becomes scripted at that point. It just becomes hide and seek for the best items and who's willing to put the time in. So that can't be it. maybe. Let's do a little item thinking. Maybe I have items up here farther up. Let's see, initiative, gates, players, battlefields. No, I don't have anything items down below. Okay, we're gonna make this a number. This is important. All right, items. Let's do this. Let's try this out. There are base items. Actually, I like where this is going. Okay, there are base items, and let's just call this weapons and armor. And those base items, Frank, I owe you this one. I'm totally stealing this idea from you. You're not actually searching for items. You're searching for auras that create buffs. And now, hold on. Strike that from the record because auras mean something else. So we're going to call it. We'll just call it. Okay. Bonuses. We'll call them bonuses. We're not going to keep this term forever, but okay. So players are looking for either buffed weapons. No. Okay, I'm gonna do some shorthand notes here just so I can get all this out in my head. Okay, so gate items. We've got item bonuses, item buffs, item upgrades. Via aura ritual. We've got. Okay, those are enough for now. Okay, so item upgrades. Here we go. Okay, so I go into a room. I'm a living character. I go into a room and I perform a searching ritual, and that search ritual allows me to identify a +1 to a ranged weapon. Okay, so there's going to be an upgrade that gives +1 range attack. That upgrade would then go into the deck of cards. I would see it, and then I could decide what I wanted to do with it. Okay. So I see the upgrade, and I can decide what I want to do with it. I can attach it to my I can. Is that attach upgrade via ritual to my base weapon? I can add upgrade to the room deck. I can add the upgrade to the room deck. Or yeah, and only I get to see this. Is the deck shuffled when I add an item? It's a good question. We'll need to come back to that. Okay. Okay. So I go into a room, I perform a ritual, a search ritual, and performing that ritual makes me aware of an upgrade in the room. That upgrade, the way I'm made aware of that, as I draw a card, I get to see it, and then I can decide what I want to do. If I want to add that card to an existing weapon, I can. I then have to perform another ritual, and we'll need to worry. We should do something with action points. Action points per turn. This kind of encompasses all the rituals and actions a player is allowed to take per turn. Actually, you know what I like about this? What I like about this is that players can use these points to simultaneously plan their turn. So players can simultaneously plan their turn. And then resolve in turn order. But then you've got combat initiative issues. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Good enough. Good enough. Okay. Action points per turn. Does it matter? If it's my turn, and I know that there's an enemy character, and that enemy could be living or dead, if they're on my floor, but I want to perform a bunch of rituals, I'm first in the turn order. Maybe players can play around with their initiative. Maybe players can move down the initiative track as much as they want. Because that would represent just waiting to see what happens. I don't think it's gonna work. I don't think it's gonna work, but it's a note worth keeping, so we're gonna keep it. Okay. So, rather than get bogged down to the details like I'm doing, so that's the basics for an item upgrade. Gate items. So these are items that are preloaded with upgrades. To get these, players need to perform rituals over open soul gates. There are original soul gates, and there are let's see, as a part of the game, there are, like, you can generate soul gates. I just need a term for them, so we're gonna call them generated soul gates, but that's not what we're sticking with in the long term. Okay, original soul gates will give there is a deck of more powerful items. What are the drawbacks? Maybe it just alerts all enemies to your presence. Yeah, maybe. No. What was I thinking? Like I'd know how to spell presence. Okay. Alerts all enemies to your presence. Got it. Generated soul gates. Not as powerful. Not as powerful items. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Okay. I only have a few more minutes of work on this today. Hey, what's up, Joe? I think, Joe, I'm making this game a bit more robust than you had planned for, but I feel like I'm actually moving in a direction that's good. Okay. So, living character. Let's go back to the board real quick. So I go inside the building. The undead characters start on the 3rd floor. They get to move down. There's going to be initiative track over here. Initiative track. Okay, so there's an initiative track. We'll worry about those specifics at a later date. We go in and look in the room. We perform a ritual to search for things. You can find items, so let's make that clear. You can find... Really? Okay. Players can find base items. Players can find base items, and base items can have stronger kind of starting points. Starting bases. Base stats. It sounds like such a gamer term. Base stats. That's definitely going to be a placeholder for now. Okay. Players can find base items, and base items can have stronger stats. Like, stronger materials. And the like. Okay. So, I go into a room, I search for stuff, I perform my rituals, and then I leave. This game needs to be more than just looking around rooms for things. So, I need to make sure that it stays interesting. Yeah, right, Joe? The wonderful ideas that we, the wonderful terms that we have to use to make these things actually function. Okay. I think what we're going to do for now is we're just going to leave this off here. I think this is a good stopping point where I have to decide what makes this game better from this point on. Like, there's a decent start here. So we're just going to leave it at this. And when we come back tomorrow, well, not tomorrow. Tomorrow I've got game night, but, we'll figure it out. So anyways, thank you for hanging out. I hope I've given you a bit more clarity on what the heck's going on with this game. I have a bit more clarity. That's a good sign. So, yeah, we will. I think I'll be back on Friday, maybe. I won't be working on this, though. I'll be working on kind of a fun project. It's Fun Project Friday. So we will see you then. Thanks for watching.